When Joe Biden is not incoherently babbling about illegal immigration, he's incoherently babbling about the supposed pay gap. Now, the pay gap is one of the most overwrought, ridiculous things in American public life. The notion that women are being paid less for the same exact work is not backed by statistical evidence. The reality is that the pay gap is almost entirely a creation of differentials in work hours, in jobs chosen. It is a differential in time taken off from the workforce. Women tend to take more time out of the workforce because they want to be home with the kids in many cases. The basic idea that a woman works an hour, a man works an hour, exact same job, exact same credentials, and so the woman gets paid less is just silly. It actually.
I can tell you from firsthand experience that it's ridiculous. I was a woman in a man's industry. I was an investment professional, and I was one of the more highly compensated people in the places that I worked. Well, most of them, of course, when you're starting out at any career, you're not going to be among the most highly compensated. You have to earn your spot. You have to learn how to be the most professional. Nobody hands you anything. It's another way that the left continually wants to victimize women and paint men out to be somehow toxic because they stay in the workforce longer. They do jobs that, frankly, women mostly don't want to do. I think it's awesome when you see a woman who's in construction or she is, doing a job that's mostly dominated by men. I mean, our daughter is an Apache pilot. That's really one of those male-dominated things. I think it's great when women can do these things. I know firsthand your level of compensation as a woman is not ever in competition with a man. I was in a male-dominated industry and I made a really good living. As hard as I wanted to work, I would make money. I would have an income that would be commensurate with my efforts.
Really is not true. It's been widely debunked. Christina Hoff Sommers has done that work many, many times before. In fact, in America's largest cities, it's been true for years that people who are fresh out of college without having taken time out of the workforce, women in the same industries tend to be paid as highly or more than men. That's according to Time magazine. That goes back a full decade. Doesn't matter. We're still going to keep promoting the quote unquote equity-based idea that if women on average are paid less than men for all of those extraneous factors, for all of those confounds, well, that's still not good enough.
It really is interesting and sad that the driving message from the left is that people are victims and that they will somehow be better for victims when every single policy that they try to institute makes things worse for the downtrodden. It makes things harder for the average person to break into. It's so sad how many people don't see it for what it is.
To equalize pay between men and women and pretend that women are not getting paid enough for the same exact work as a man. So Biden's administration earlier this week trotted out Megan Rapinoe, who's the least victimized victim in American public life. Megan Rapinoe is an extraordinarily famous gay woman who has not, so far as I'm aware, been victimized in any of her media coverage. She grew up extremely privileged. She did not grow up impoverished. She has faced, from what I can see, very little in the way of actual life obstacles to success. She is now treated as a paragon of feminist virtue, even though the claims that she makes are overtly false, repeatedly, like this one. Here was Megan Rapinoe complaining she's not paid the same as the men. Yeah, you're not paid the same as the men, lady, because you're in women's soccer, which makes money once every 4 years, whereas men's soccer makes money pretty much all the time. And the Men's World Cup is a multiple, like a large multiple bigger than the Women's World Cup. And you guys signed a contract. So if you don't like your contract, you could have not signed that contract. But here's Megan Rapinoe complaining that she does the same work as a man and doesn't get paid the same as a man.
4 World Cup championships and 4 Olympic gold medals for the United States. And despite those wins, I've been devalued, I've been disrespected, and dismissed because I am a woman. And I've been told that I don't deserve any more than less because I am a woman. You see, despite all the wins, I'm still paid less than men who do the same job that I do.
What she is saying is that the equivalent of saying that my child's Little League baseball team should be paid exactly the same as what the winner of the World Series is paid, because they're both playing the same game, even though one makes billions of dollars and the other makes nothing. So she never wants to level the playing field, never at all.
Don't do the same job that you do. They don't. You know how I know? Because Megan Rapinoe, anytime you want, you can go play on the men's team. You can try. You can try. After all, gender is it's a social construct. We have been informed by the left that gender does not exist. It's completely a social construct. So since gender is a social construct, anytime Megan Rapinoe wants, she can go try and play with the men. That is not going to go great for Megan Rapinoe. She is not doing the same work that a man is doing.
This is so fascinating, and it plays into something that has come up in our family on more than one occasion, is should women be in special forces? And, that keeping women out of those jobs is somehow discriminatory, and it's not fair. And that women can do the same things that men can. It's absolutely not true. The way that we finally got through in the midst of that ongoing argument was by asking our daughter, who was on the girls' crew team at West Point, why she wouldn't just try out for the men's crew team, because she would never make it in their lowest rung, and she knew it, and she had to say it. It's the same exact thing. You're not doing the same job, not even close.
Saying that a woman lifting weights, like her job is to lift weights, she's doing exactly the same job as a man when she wins a gold medal in a weightlifting competition. Well, not really, considering the man is probably lifting twice as much weight as the woman. I mean, not to put too fine a point on this, but in a scrimmage, the women's World Cup soccer team, the gold medal winning women's World Cup soccer team, lost to the under 15 football club from Dallas. Boys football club from Dallas, the under 15s. Bunch of 14-year-old, yes, it was a scrimmage, but also, you lost to a bunch of 14-year-old boys. No, it's not. No, actually, you're not doing the same work as the men. This is all absurd, okay? It's just absurd. And her proclaiming, she's speaking from the podium of the damned White House. She's been on every major television show complaining about her fate. She signed voluntarily a contract as to her pay, and the Women's World Cup, again, is a fraction the size of the Men's World Cup. It's amazing. But don't worry, Joe Biden assures us that there's not a single thing a man can do a woman can't do better. Not a single thing. Men can't pee their name in the snow better. Men can't open pickle jars better. Men can't pick up heavy weights better. Men can't throw a baseball harder on average. Nope. It turns out every single thing a man can do, a woman can do just as well or better, which is why he should probably resign and let Kamala Harris be president.
I've told my daughters, granddaughters, from the time they were old enough to understand what I was saying, and I mean it, there's not a single thing a man can do that a woman can't do as well or better.
I can think of a thing or two.
Single thing.
Not a single thing? Anything? Really? There are things that women can do better than men. There are things men can do better than women. But frankly, I'm shocked that he still thinks the distinction exists. He can't even define what a woman is. It turns out that many men are better at being women than women, according to Joe Biden. All right, so the White House released this asinine Instagram picture the other day. Said it's equal pay day. Did you know white men make the whole dollar? Asian women make 87 cents. White women make 79 cents. Black women make 63 cents. American Indian, Alaska Native women make 60 cents. Hispanic or Latino women make 55 cents. Okay, so I have some questions. I have some major questions. First of all, you're taking into account no confounds, right? Number of hours in the workforce, amount of time taken out of the workforce, what kind of job you have. And none of that is taken into account. Second, you notice that it starts with white men make the whole dollar. How about Asian men? How do they do in the United States? How about Nigerian-born American immigrants? They do really, really well in the United States, as it turns out. So why are white men at the top? Oh, because white men are always evil. That's why. When you just put white men at the top, that means everything that follows is going to be how crappy America is. Also, are we to believe? I mean, according to the left, this violates the intersectional hierarchy. The only reason for this would be discrimination, of course, right? Intersectional concerns. Your membership in various identity groups, that decides just how bad America is to you. So, according to this chart, the one that the White House just put out, in order of people who are discriminated against, it goes least discriminated against, Asian American women. Then white women. Apparently white women are more discriminated against than Asian American women. Kind of incredible. Wouldn't have predicted that. Also, it turns out that black women are less discriminated against than Hispanic or Latino women, because black women make 63 cents while Hispanic or Latino women make 55 cents. So apparently America is super duper racist against Hispanic and Latino women, but only a little bit less racist against black women. Okay, all of this is just crap. It's just crap. It does not bear statistical relation to reality.
Joe Biden every week has to pull some new and fascinating statistic out to tell us how awful we are. And I don't think anybody is believing it. I absolutely love when they try to connect with people, young people, over social media, and they get slammed in the comments. I mean, I don't know about you, but it is like 95-5 negative versus positive comments for anything on the Biden administration. Do you guys remember when they turned the comments off on the YouTube videos of Biden on the White House channel? Yeah, that's pretty telling.
Men have different jobs than women. Men tend to go into STEM fields. Women tend not to go into STEM fields. That is not due to systemic discrimination. All of the big tech companies have been trying to recruit women into these fields for a very long time. Lawrence Summers, the former Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, got himself in hot water by pointing out that women have different preferences in job selection than men do. This happens to be accurate. He also pointed out that if you look at test performance when it comes to math and science, what you tend to see is that the averages for men and women tend to be pretty similar, but that at the tail end of the spectrum, the curves are different. The male curve, in terms of test scores on math and science, tends to show a lot of really dumb men and a lot of really smart men, and the average somewhere in the middle. And for women, a lot of people in the middle, very few very dumb, and very few very great at science and tech. Okay, that does not mean that if you just pick a woman that she's going to be worse off than a man. It means that when you're looking at a statistical average of wages, you have to look at factors like this. Again, women tend to enter the STEM fields less often than men.
Ben is giving us like every single reason that you need to question things instead of saying, oh, the government said it and it's actually true, when it's complete nonsense.
And actually, when you look at countries that have supposedly more gender equality, what you see is that women enter STEM fields there even less often than in countries where there is more gender inequality. Why? Because if a woman has to get a high earning job in order to support her family, it turns out that she will pick a STEM field because that's where the money is. But if you're in the Netherlands, where women don't have to get a STEM job in order to have a decent way of life, well, then they won't become doctors as often as they will go into other forms of job and occupation. University of Chicago economist Stephen Levitt says, quote, rather than interpreting women's lower wages as a failure, perhaps it should be seen as a sign that a higher wage simply isn't as meaningful an incentive for women as it is for men. Oh, how dare we? How dare we? Nope. Every inequality.
The other thing about the difference between earning wages as a woman or earning wages as a man, I guess for myself, I've been out of the workforce for a number of years raising children, which is the ultimate choice. That's an improvement in your lifestyle. I mean, it doesn't take into consideration any of these things that absolutely make sense. Of course, why would they do that? They have an agenda to drive, which involves turning us against each other.
Quality of outcome means that America is terrible and horrible and no good and very bad, which again is why Joe Biden needs to immediately resign and hand over his seat to the incredible, historic black woman who is his vice president. That will solve all of our problems, even though, by the way, again, they can't even define man and woman. If you ask them what is a man and what is a woman, they literally have no definition of these things. The easiest way to solve the gender gap is to simply have people stop identifying as a member of gender at all, because gender is irrelevant. Boom, no genders, no pay gap. Incredible. We solved it, guys. It was that easy.